Next, we'll talk about bonds. Now, you've probably heard about bonds when people talk about the stock market. They invested in stocks and bonds. Well, bonds are a debt instrument issued by corporations or governmental entities to raise money. So they decide they're going to raise a large amount of money. They don't want to sell stock, they're just going to borrow the money. And so they issue these bonds. Investors buy them, and then they promise to pay an annual interest payment for several years. And then at the end of the life of the bond, when the bonds have matured, they pay back the original loan. We're going to talk a little bit about some elements of bonds. Now, we don't get into the details in this class because that's what your finance classes are for. But we'll touch the high points and get you ready for those classes for later. So problem 2 for this chapter's materials says, JHF Corporation issues 6% 20-year bonds with a face value of $500,000. The market interest rate for bonds of similar risk is 6%. Interest is paid semi-annually. Would the bonds sell at face value, a discount, or a premium? Now, you've read this chapter, so you're familiar with these terms, and we're going to apply what you learned in the chapter to this problem. So they issued 6% 20-year bonds. That means the face rate for these bonds is 6%. The market rate is 6%. The face rate and the market rate are the same, which means this was issued at face value. So, investors who purchased this bond could have the same return on this bond that they would have on other bonds in the market. It's at face value. If we think about problem 3, now JHF Corporation is issuing 6% 10-year bonds with a face value of $500,000, but the market interest rate is 7%. So our face rate, sometimes called the stated rate, is 6%, but the market rate is 7%. So investors could buy this bond for a 6% return, or they could buy a different bond and get a 7% return. So to entice those investors to buy our bond at a lower interest return, then we would need to offer a discount. You can buy our bond for a little bit less money, and then that justifies accepting lower interest than the competition. So this would be sold at a discount. And then problem 4 says that we still have face rate, sometimes called stated rate, of 6%, and we have a market rate of 5%. Well, now the stated rate is higher. So investors who purchase this bond will have a higher return than if they purchased a similar bond from another company. That means we can charge more for our bond because they'll get a higher return. So this is issued at a premium.